Celebrating spiritual master, monk, mentor, and spiritual teacher, primarily based in Houston. He travels all over the world, Australia, China, Hong Kong, Singapore, and America, giving talks on spiritual subjects from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. He is also an authority for Vedic studies in Texas area. We are truly blessed to have Prabhu's association today. With that, let us welcome Radha Krishna Prabhu by loudly chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Radha Krishna Prabhu, over to you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, everybody. Nice to see you. Oh, nice to see nobody except names. Yeah. So before I begin, I think today is Satyasar Prabhu's birthday, so we can wish him a happy birthday, and we wish him also that. Just hold on a sec. Yeah. Yes, sorry. Yeah. So we wish him the best, and we pray that he can continue to serve all the devotees, Vaishnavas in ISKCON nicely, and that he will continue to be an inspiration for everyone, not only in Austin, around the world also. Okay. So yeah. So today, since we just had the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada, so I told Satyasa, maybe I'll just speak a little bit. I have some notes about Srila Prabhupada, so we can hear about, maybe discuss a little bit, and then share my thoughts, and see how it goes. So the disappearance day, actually, it's not just, I mean, there's no difference between disappearance and appearance days for great personalities, Vaishnava Acharyas, like Srila Prabhupada. We need to understand that these personalities are primarily sent by Sri Krishna. Just like Krishna sends them, Krishna also takes them back, and therefore we cannot complain how or why sometimes we say somebody like Srila Prabhupada has to leave and so on, but there's a reason. Krishna wants his associates back. So in any case, it's a day to reflect, and you don't only have to reflect on the day he disappears or the day he appears. One should be able to reflect on a daily basis, actually. Some of the things is what we owe Srila Prabhupada, and we can also understand without Srila Prabhupada, this movement is not will not be existing. And you and I, we will not be here talking. So it's very important to appreciate that Srila Prabhupada's appearance or disappearance has made all of our spiritual lives possible. Therefore, it's very important for us to understand this principle properly. We should also know how to be very grateful for him, towards him. Now, having said that, I'm not sure how many of you are actually listening to Prabhupada's lectures, his recordings on a daily basis. How many of you are doing it? I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe 1%, 2%. But really, he's the Acharya. How many of you are actually listening to the Acharya? If you can't do it on a daily basis, then you should at least do it on a weekly basis, at least once a week. Listen to Prabhupada's lectures. How much do each and every one of us will know compared to Srila Prabhupada, right? So it's so important to hear. At least once a week, you all should all listen to Prabhupada's classes and then discuss what Prabhupada is saying. Now, in the last year, in 1977, there were approximately 400 recordings were made of Srila Prabhupada's talks in various cases. It's from, in 1977, yeah. And part of our sadhana, why we are in this movement, should be centered around knowing Prabhupada also. Not just only knowing, you have to hear. When you hear someone, you will understand their heart better. Right? If you don't hear, if you read something, you may assume certain things. You may not understand the emphasis sometimes. But when you hear, there's a change in our hearts also. So part of our spiritual life should be to listen to Srila Prabhupada's recordings. It's very important. So if many of you are not listening, then it's a very sad thing for our movement, because then you're not able to imbibe Srila Prabhupada's qualities properly. Nor can you develop, nor will you be serious about your spiritual life. The Srila Prabhupada's books are our primary, his books are our primary source. What do I mean? Primary source of scriptural references, okay? And therefore, it's very important also to read his books. It's not that, once you become initiated, you don't listen to Prabhupada's books. No, it's not like that, It's not that you don't read his books. There's so many books we have in our movement by different gurus, different Vaishnavas, and so on. And they are nice. You should read them, yeah. But the primary source for all of our scriptural references is Srila Prabhupada's books. And therefore, it's important that each and every one of us get to see, get to read, get to hear about Srila Prabhupada. And when you hear directly about Prabhupada, you get another aspect of Srila Prabhupada, which is different than the books that you see him. It's the same person, but in different form. Okay? In class, you hear him, is different. In conversation, you hear him, he is different. On walks, on daily walks and conversation, he is different. When he talks to someone from outside the devotional circle, he is different. So you can appreciate Srila Prabhupada. And then you see how he interacts with his own disciples, his devotees. So these are all important things that all of you should consider and think about carefully. These recordings are very important. It's our legacy. Now, from the material point of view, Srila Prabhupada left due to kidney failure. Okay, and yeah, that's what it is stated. And his sickness started sometime in the beginning of 1977. I've heard Shivaram Maharaj saying how in Mayapur, Srila Prabhupada was there. Once he came there in the beginning of the year, at that time they had the long building, and it was the longest building in Mayapur, in Bengal, I think, at that time. So he just only gave one lecture because he was not feeling well. He arrived, he gave a greeting lecture, and because of his health, and they could see he was declining, his health was declining slowly. It was very obvious. And then after he spent a few days, he went to Mumbai for a large Pandal program. And then from there, they took him to Rishikesh. One of the reasoning was that Rishikesh was a cooler weather, And then the Prabhupada could drink Ganga Jal, fresh Ganga Jal, and they were hoping it will make him better. Yeah, right. We also do things, we want to feel better and so on. So devotees were trying to help Prabhupada. But then one evening in Rishikesh, there was a storm in the ashram. I mean, there was a storm, and Prabhupada was he felt something, and so he made a statement. Because it's not clear in the biographies. If you read the biographies, it's not very clearly stated. No? But I've heard Shivram Maharaj explaining how that Srila Prabhupada said in Rishikesh, he told his disciples there that he said, I think I will die. And then he said, take me into Vrindavan. Okay. So then they drove all the way from Rishikesh for 3 hours. They drove a long drive, huh? 3 hours, and very quickly they drove him back to. Actually, I can't say 3 hours. It was a long drive, yeah. And then they came all the way to Vrindavan, and then at Vrindavan, devotees were there gathered to greet him, and Srila Prabhupada had a greetings again, and this time Prabhupada only spoke for 3 minutes, and then he was very tired, and in that talk he just says a few things. He says, I've come back to Vrindavan, and then he says, if I have to leave my body, then it should be here in Vrindavan. That was the desire of Srila Prabhupada, and we know the desire was fulfilled because Prabhupada left his body in Vrindavan. So they said from that point on in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada's health just simply declined, and everyone could see. And it was they could see it was also very serious. And Srila Prabhupada wasn't having so much interaction with the devotees, but more so with his secretaries, his servant. Tamakrishna Goswami, my spiritual master, served there. And he would also say how Srila Prabhupada was always, during the last few days, he would call the GBCs, the General Body Commission, the devotees who were more or less in charge of our movement. He would call 3 or 4 times on separate occasions, and they would fly in from wherever they were, and after they meet Prabhupada for a few weeks, they stay, and then they will leave. They will go back to their countries, and then Srila Prabhupada, after a few days, a week later, will call them again. Say, I want to talk to you. And so he would call them again and again, and then he would call them again, like that. In fact, Srila Prabhupada actually, at one point, he sent out 2 telegrams. If you don't know what a telegram is, because nowadays you don't know, it's a messaging system where they use the postal services, teletext. It's not on your phone, those telegram. It's a different kind of telegram in those days, in case you're not sure. They use SOS signals. So that's how, and then they had this tape types also where the message will come in short messages in a small piece of ribbon, paper ribbon, and they'll have a few words like that, awaiting arrival 6 p.m., something like that. No long sentences, stuff like that. Yeah. And nowadays you can put emojis and everything. In those days, no such things. Just to the fact, like that. So he did send 2 telegrams, and these messages he sent was to the whole world of his disciples, wherever they were. And what he told that is that every devotee in ISKCON, he wanted them to come and be with him in Vrindavan. That was a message. Now, of course, it didn't quite happen. Devotees couldn't come, and because the temples had to be maintained and so on. So therefore, the managers would ask Srila Prabhupada, we can't do that, Prabhupada. how can the temples operate? So they were kind of worried about the whole thing. But Prabhupada wanted them, So he said, doesn't matter. Whoever wants to come, they should be allowed to come. So Prabhupada knew he was going to leave, and he didn't want devotees to miss out in the last darshan with him. Uh, so he said, whoever wants to come, they should be allowed to come, because it was going to be the last opportunity to be with him. And Srila Prabhupada said he was a freedom lover. Until the age of 80, Srila Prabhupada wasn't inhibited. He would just go wherever he wanted, right? He would travel, and amazingly, he would travel to each city 2 days, and then he'll fly to another city, 3 days, fly, 2 days. It's very intense, but he was traveling around the world. Yeah? He was preaching morning, noon, even at night time, and he would have meetings in between with his disciples, with other people who come to see him, and he was managing the entire international society. Now, Srila Prabhupada, he's a person who never liked to be constrained by his conditions, okay? And you can say more or less it was very clear. If all of you, if you study very closely, that in his biographies and so on, you'll find that at a certain point, that Srila Prabhupada recognized that even he didn't, even if he didn't leave the world, the condition he was going through, it wasn't very good even for him. He wasn't going to stay in this world with the condition that he was, and therefore, what is the point even with that kind of condition? What's the point in even staying here? So he wasn't going to be free anymore. So he recognized that. He understood he wasn't going to be free, and so more or less he stopped eating and drinking. Okay, at that time. So up to the end, he was only just taking a little bit of water every now and then he fasted to death. It's very rare nowadays. You don't see many people fasting to death, but Srila Prabhupada practiced that. So, of course, he would take a little bit something. For example, when his sister came, she told him, "You have to eat." So, out of affection for his sister, he allowed her to cook pisima. So she would cook, and then he'll take a little bit, and he'll say, "It's so nice." But the quantity was very little. He was just taking to please the devotees or so on. So pretty much eating became zero, and then drinking, it just depended on who is there, who's encouraging him, and who's taking care of him, how much they were encouraging him, like that. So that's how it was throughout the last few, you can say like that, throughout the last few months. It was slowly everyone could see how he was externally, you can say the body was deteriorating, and so all of these interactions are there on the recordings. There are videos also, and you should watch this, and you can see it gives a very special and unique picture of Srila Prabhupada. It's very important, but it also gives a very message, also a very amazing message Srila Prabhupada want to give, and that's the final lesson. And what is the final lesson? Since this is not really interactive, the final lesson is how to die. The Prabhupada taught us how to worship, how to live as a devotee. So finally, he's teaching us how to die. And the only way he can teach us how to die is to actually die. So if you think about it, it's one of the greatest lessons Srila Prabhupada wanted to teach. And now there's a video that Yadubara Prabhu actually recorded. It's called The Final Lesson. Maybe it's about half an hour long, so maybe it's in YouTube, I'm not sure, but you can look at that. And it has the final days. and maybe 1 or 2 days after he left his body. Okay, so it was just that Srila Prabhupada's it's very crucial to know how this person who is the world Acharya, who gave us everything on how to, for many of his disciples, he taught them how to even tie dhotis. He's an old man. And for many of the female devotees, he even showed them how to tie saris, how to cook. So many things he was doing. How to even brush their teeth. Prabhupada taught them these things. And he also gave a formula for toothpaste, actually, with mustard oil and some things that he actually mixed with some chemical. I wouldn't say wintergreen oil, mustard oil, and then some maybe some base. I can't remember at the moment. Salt, actually, salt. So then during the early days when devotees joined, they were not allowed to buy toothpaste. Right? So they had to use Prabhupada's formula and they would use it. And unless you had a very sensitive teeth, it worked. Prabhupada's formulas worked. So people were, they used it and it worked. So Srila Prabhupada gave the devotees everything. Whatever they wanted, Srila Prabhupada actually gave them everything. They worked so hard to please him, and because he gave his heart to them and they gave their hearts to him also. He taught them everything. He laid the foundation, just like he laid the seed in the heart of every disciple he could help them. Just like Bhakti Lata Beach, the devotional kripa in all of our hearts, he gave that on every one of them into the hearts of these wonderful disciples of Vaishnavas. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada planted the seed of Krishna consciousness all over the world, and he showed how it's done. And so we can learn how he did that. And the final lesson is he's showing us that the lesson that every one of us are going to have to face sooner or later. Yeah. I know you all don't want to hear all these kind of things, but listen, this is going to happen. So you must prepare. You have to be serious in your Krishna consciousness. It's not just get together, have a party and go home and then do anything. Sooner or later, you're going to have to do it. Now, of course, some of you may not have to take sannyas, but then many men, those who are qualified, they should, because it's meant for, our movement is meant for preaching, right? Some of you may not go out to sell books, Srila Prabhupada's books. You may not do many things. Some of you may become pujaris in the temples. But one thing everyone's going to have to do is that you're going to have to leave this world. That's guaranteed. Prabhupada used to say, as sure as death. So we have to be very careful how we are practicing. So it's guaranteed that we all are going to leave this world sometime. But how to leave this world is how Srila Prabhupada was teaching us. So he showed how one should actually live this world. And it's, you can say, the miraculous thing of Srila Prabhupada is his mood, how it remained consistent with everything else that Srila Prabhupada has given up until that time. And you can see there is also short clips of Srila Prabhupada living or even speaking the Bhagavatam on YouTube. He's in bed, he's dying, and still he's whispering, he's speaking the purports so eloquently. Of course, he doesn't have much strength, but his mind is so clear, so crystal. His mood is so perfect. Now, Shivram Maharaj was telling in one of his classes how he traveled with Satsvarup Maharaj, and because Satsvarup Maharaj is doing the biography, Leelamrita, Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita. I'm not sure how many of you have read that also. I recommend you all should read that also. So in researching, they went to many places. They went to Butler, Pennsylvania, and they met so many different people. Many, mostly they were favorable there, but then there are people who also not favorable about Prabhupada also. So he was saying, this is amazing, you know. Now, just as he was, Srila Prabhupada was actually regarding the biography, just as he is leaving the biography, the disciples asked Srila Prabhupada, we want to uh, write about you, we want to write your biography. And Srila Prabhupada said, no, why? Why do you want to write it? He says, no. He says, this is not good. I don't want anything. So he said he did not like it because then this movement becomes a personality cult, right? You can see many movements. It's all about the leader or someone. But Prabhupada didn't want that. He wanted it to be just Krishna conscious. He wanted the movement. Anyone look at the movement, they will say this is Krishna conscious movement. It's not Prabhupada conscious. Of course, once you practice, you are Prabhupada conscious. The point is he didn't want outside people to think it's just about him. So it's very important for us to understand and appreciate what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to actually convey to the outside world. So in another incident also, I have some points here where, yeah, when the devotees also wanted to build Srila Prabhupada a house for him. And then Srila Prabhupada said, why? I don't want a house, you know. In Vrindavan, if you go, yeah, I think it's, yeah. In Vrindavan, you go, Srila Prabhupada Samadhi is there, right? So at that place, the devotees wanted to build a kind of a house for Prabhupada. And Prabhupada again said, why? I don't need this house. You know, I have so many rooms here in the temple. But ultimately, they convinced him. The reason how they convinced him is they were saying that it was good for preaching. Many highly placed officials from government, foreign places, when they came to visit him, it would be a very good place for them to sit and talk to Srila Prabhupada. And he could also entertain, so to speak, all these foreign officials, or even the local government officials or officials from Delhi who came to see him. So when they told him, then he said, okay, if it's good for preaching, then I will have the building or whatever house you want, then I will do that. If these are influential people come, then for preaching, Prabhupada said it was all right. So similarly, when they asked about the biography, Srila Prabhupada said, no way in the beginning. Then he said, you don't need to know anything about me. I've already written books about Krishna, and that's the main thing. But again, the disciples were always pushing Prabhupada, and finally, they said, if they are interested about you, Prabhupada, they will surely become Krishna conscious. And when he heard that, then he said, in that case, yes, please, you can write about me. That's the reason he said, okay. Otherwise, he wasn't interested about the Leelamrita. So Satsvarup Maharaj wrote the Leelamrita. Now, there are many books by different disciples who have written about Srila Prabhupada's experiences they had, and it's very wonderful. So, how many times all of you have read about Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita? How many times? How many of you have even read one time? So if you haven't, then then how can you say you are a devotee of ISKCON? How can you say you are Prabhupada's follower? You know. So if you haven't, then you should make it a point of reading it at least of 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, or even an hour. You should all read. Uh, so so like my Guru Maharaj will read so many times, and I also have seen so many Maharaj, Ritajva Swami, Giriraj Swami, Shivaram Swami said that he read 20 times the Leelamrita. 20 times, you know. So at least you all should read it once or twice, huh? Within this life before you give up your body. Read it. So we have to hear of Srila Prabhupada, we have to hear from Srila Prabhupada, and then we will understand his instructions. Um, and it is our responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility. It is not just only the disciples of Srila Prabhupada should read, hear, or see his videos. No, it's not like that. Right? And it's not your spiritual master's responsibility to only know Srila Prabhupada. You, each and every one of us should know, which is why all of you should be reading his books, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and about Srila Prabhupada, and see and hear his video classes, or taped classes, MP3, or whatever you do nowadays. You all should do it. So every one of us, we are in this movement, so it is our responsibility. It is our responsibility to actually feel that that this the continuation of this movement is in our hands, right? If all the disciples of Prabhupada, how long do you think they're going to be here? Forever, right? If they all go away, then all of you must know how to continue the desire of Srila Prabhupada. So it's very important. It's a responsibility. It's our responsibility. If you look at the history, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had at least 20,000 initiated disciples, or maybe even more. Some people say more, some are. But out of those 20,000, Srila Prabhupada at that time was just a businessman. He had a family and he would just come, but he took it as his responsibility to preach and to know the mood of his guru. So out of the 20,000 disciples, he was the one person who took it very seriously, the responsibility. That Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted this preaching, and therefore it should be done. For that desire of his spiritual master, Prabhupada sacrificed everything. Sacrificed his business, sacrificed his wife, sacrificed his family. He gave up everything. There was nothing for him. He wrote a manuscript about in the beginning days. He wrote the entire Bhagavad Gita. He wrote a manuscript, and guess what? Somebody stole the manuscript. And guess what? Srila Prabhupada didn't lament. Srila Prabhupada then went back and started rewriting the whole Bhagavad Gita. The one that you have now is the version that he rewrote again with purports and everything. Just imagine how much this wonderful personality went through, so much sacrifice. How much are we sacrificing? So it's very important. He gave up even staying in Vrindavan. Most people in Vrindavan will say, I'm not getting out of Vrindavan. I'm not leaving Vrindavan. I'm happy. I want to die in Vrindavan. Prabhupada said no. And then he decreased his life, right? If he had just stayed in Vrindavan, he would have lived for maybe 90, 100 years maybe. But because he traveled daily, every few days he was traveling around the world. 10 years, 11 years he was doing it. Until, 10 years he did it, because 11th year he was very ill, like that, around the world. That was the whole thing is the effect of traveling. You travel a lot, your lifespan gets shortened. So, but this is what Sampradaya means, Guru Parampara Sampradaya. That means you care for the other people, you care for the people who don't know Krishna consciousness, people who don't know spirituality. So Srila Prabhupada wanted that somehow or other he wanted to give this. That was his gift to the world. So similarly, evam parampara praptam imam raja rishi viddu. This process is coming in disciplic succession. So we also should. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be traveling around the world, but you can meet a friend. You can call a friend and tell them about Krishna. Tell them about Krishna conscious movement. Tell them about Prabhupada. Give them a book. Encourage them. Don't just sit and then think it's okay. This is not a japa movement, right? This is Sankirtan Yagna. It's different. Sankirtan Yagna is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted. What is that? Pritiviti Ache Nagaradi Grama. Yata Nagaradi Grama. Every town and village, they should know about the holy names of Krishna, chanting the holy names of Krishna. So there are two things, Sri Ram Maharaj also said, there are two things we have to perfect as obligation to Srila Prabhupada. First thing is not just chanting 16 rounds and regulative principles, but in order to become pure devotees, it is our duty to Srila Prabhupada that we become pure devotees. Not simply just chanting. You have to become pure devotee. All of you, each and every one of you. To help each other, get out of your foolish mindsets, selfish ego, ahankaras, give it up. Help one another become pure devotees. It is our duty. Not just sadhakas. We don't just sit and chant and that's it. No, not just sadhakas, but kriti sadhya, bhavat sadhya, bhava. That means you have to at least come to the platform of bhava, pure devotees like that. So you practice your sadhanas. You all are meeting on a weekly basis or even on daily basis with some of you. You should practice nicely. You have to understand, I want to attain prema, perfection in Krishna consciousness. It's our responsibilities. This Srila Prabhupada wanted this. If Prabhupada is going to be, Prabhupada himself said, I'm not dying. I live in my books and in my instructions. So if we want to keep Srila Prabhupada alive, then we should follow his instructions nicely and pass on those instructions. That's our responsibilities. If Prabhupada is going to be continue living, then he's living in his books, his instructions, and in how we perform those instructions properly. Yeah. So, of course, in the temple you have Prabhupada's murti. Yeah, he is in the murti, he's living there, but he's also living in the movement as well. This is transcendental. I remember this whole entire movement, Srila Prabhupada struggled so much to establish it. And he also protected it very much over his last 10 years. So in the same way, each and every one of you have a responsibility to move it and protect it also and practice it nicely. Okay, Prabhupada was so extremely protective of the devotees in this movement and the society. So you too must be in the same mood. So a society is made up of different parts, right? So we are all parts and parcel of this society. So therefore, if the example is if in a car, one of the most important screw is loose, then the entire engine may fail in a car and becomes dysfunctional. So we are part of this movement. So we also have to be Krishna conscious, properly understanding things. If you take one person out and then and it's not functioning properly, then slowly everyone will become lazy, not serious, and then eventually don't follow rules, no etiquette, don't know how to respect one another, look at each other as enemies, and then there's no difference between us and any normal useless community groups around the world like that. So you can see that what 45 years ago, yeah, today, that's like 2.5 generations are gone. Something like that, at least 2+ generations. So our responsibility is to that we have to make sure that what Srila Prabhupada is given as a founder Acharya is not lost. The only way is you can do that is you must practice it sincerely. It's not lip service, serious service. You have to remember. So it's very important, all of you. To Srila Prabhupada, it is not an easy thing, but you have to understand, if we don't do it, as I said, sa kalane mahatu yoganasya parantapa, everything will be destroyed. So think very carefully. Otherwise, if you do not hear Prabhupada properly, you do not read his books, what can you speak about Krishna? You will misinterpret things. You will speculate. And those things will not be helpful for our society. And as it is, you look in society, there's so many nonsense persons. You go on YouTube, you see so many sadhus, all nonsense personalities. And then they have there are millions of views, so that you can see millions of times people are watching them and getting false information. So many Mayavadis, all kinds of distortions are happening out there. Because that's the nature of this material world, Kala. Time will destroy everything. Therefore, you have to become very sincere. And in keeping intact with what Srila Prabhupada is given. And if we do that, then we will find that we will be empowered by Srila Prabhupada also, or empowered by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu says, as I mentioned before, Priti Vityache Nama Nagaradi Grama, that in every village and town there will be chanting of Hare Krishna. Who did that? Srila Prabhupada was actually the one. Mahaprabhu said that, but Srila Prabhupada was actually the one who did that. And it's not over, because if you look in the society, there's so much challenges still there for us. Prabhupada said to his disciples at that time, if they were all very Krishna conscious, in 18 days we can conquer the world. That's what Prabhupada said. Of course, out of his kindness, he has allowed his disciples to, and all of us, to preach, so that we have some seva to do. So it is important. Srila Prabhupada was so wonderful that he made the devotees feel that they can conquer the world in 18 days. So you can see, right? If you read the Lilamrita, couples, young couples, in their 20s, Prabhupada sent them to different parts of the world and they made the centers, ISKCON centers, and then just didn't sit in their temple. They went out and preached, collected funds, built temples. So now when you travel all over the world, almost every city, every major city you go, there's a temple, ISKCON temple. So it's very important for us to understand these things. Yeah. Right. So it's very important. This is sometimes if we look at everything that we have, we become so what you say, our mindset is we take things for granted. And as I mentioned again and again, once you start having this kind of mentality, you will not be able to relish Krishna consciousness properly. Rather, you will become conscious about what you want. You become selfish and so on. It's not a good thing. As Prabhupada said, he's not dead because he's a spirit soul who is what is that? He's an eternal associate of Krishna, a very, very intimate associate of Krishna. Many parts of the scriptures that it is said, Mahaprabhu predicted, he said his Senapati Bhakta. That means among his bhaktas, one who is very powerful, like a general, he will come to show the people in Kali Yuga how to connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what Prabhupada has given us something that we shouldn't take for granted. How do you show gratitude to Srila Prabhupada? How do you know you're grateful to Prabhupada? By preaching, by reading his books, by doing and following everything that Srila Prabhupada wanted. Find out, is this how Prabhupada wanted? Check with the authorities and don't become speculators. Don't say, I don't like this, so I won't do it this way. Prabhu, I don't like you, so I won't follow your instruction. But if it's what Prabhupada wanted, then you should follow. Otherwise, you will become the problem in the society. Prabhupada said the problems won't come from external sources. The problem will be from internal. So devotees who are not serious are going to cause many problems. So instructions are not some kind of sound vibration that's coming from the sky into your brain like that. No, it's not like that. The actually instruction is something that when you hear Prabhupada, when you read, it resonates in your heart. If you're a true follower, it will resonate in your heart. And you'll know, yes, this is how it should be. So remember, this movement is supposed to last for, at least from what we have heard in our, ISKCON societies, 10,000 years. So if you want this to last for 10,000 years, how is the health of Krishna conscious ISKCON today? So each and every one of you are indicators of the health of our movement, right? So what do you know and how do you display your understanding of Krishna consciousness is how people will recognize us, how they will treat us in the future. Therefore, it's very important. And to recognize Srila Prabhupada's position as the foremost within this society. No matter how many years, anything we are doubtful, we always check Srila Prabhupada's books, his conversations, his walks. Then we clarify, yes, Prabhupada wanted it this way. That's how we do it, not our own speculation. So we don't, and we shouldn't let that go away. If you do that, then you're letting Srila Prabhupada die. Okay? Because we are meant to save the world. Prabhupada said this movement is meant to save the entire world. Of course, sometimes it appears that all of us are also struggling, right? We are also struggling, but by helping others, we are saving ourselves, even though we may be struggling. Okay, Srila Prabhupada wanted this, and so we should also be able to understand how to do that. So remember, Prabhupada was willing to sacrifice everything in his life. So we are not asking you to sacrifice anything, but just go out and preach, do some books once a week, go out together. If you're afraid to do it alone, go in 2 or 3 people, learn. You don't have to do much, 1, 2 books, that's nice. When you give out a book, you'll see in your heart so much joy. That joy is different from the joy you feel otherwise materially. Right. So ultimately, you can't get around these things. All this, whether you are sannyas, brahmachari, vanaprastha, grihastha. Srila Prabhupada treated everyone equally. He never emphasized this one is better than no. Everyone is equal because you have equal opportunity to speak about Krishna, glorify Krishna, give people Krishna. Everyone equal. Okay. So you have to make this a priority in your life. Somehow or other, as I mentioned, make sure that you can help someone connect with Krishna or ISKCON and make them see why this is a good thing in their life. If you cannot speak the philosophy properly, then you act properly. behave properly. And people say, how are you like this? You say, because I'm going to ISKCON temple, I'm learning a lot. This is why I am like this. So this is how we should reciprocate with Srila Prabhupada's sacrifice for all of us. So that's what I wanted to say today. I thank all of you for listening. And if you have any comments or you want to add something, or if you're not happy with what I said, feel free to do so. I'm fine with that. All right. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Devotees, please raise your hand if you have any questions or comments you want to share. Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have one question.
Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhu, for wonderful insights about Srila Prabhupada. My question is, if we are going outside for the book distribution, so a new person asks, what is Krishna consciousness? Why we need to follow? So, what best way? So, because we are at outside, he is genuinely asking. So, how precisely we can tell and put it in a message so that it will impact. If you can give some impact insights, it will be great too.
Okay, Prabhuji. You have to understand that for someone new, the most important thing is it's what they are exposed to. It's the person that they meet that has the greatest impact. It's not so much what we say in the beginning. And usually, if you ask people who join, why did you join? You say, because I like this person so much. They treated me so nicely. So yeah, but you can say very nicely also. Prabhupada also didn't go into so much complication. That we can say Krishna consciousness means if you read Science of Self-Realization, the book, it says God consciousness. And Krishna is another name that we use for God. And then you can say our movement is teaching everyone who is here how to love God, like that. You don't have to be very complicated. You don't have to say something very eloquently, but you have to say it very sincerely, what you are trying to achieve in that discussion with them. And this is a process, and the process involves certain activities. And one of these activities is we glorify the Lord by calling out to Him or His names, and we do some service in that aspect, like that. And what are the services? We go out to tell people that they also have every right to connect and have a relationship with the Supreme Lord in loving relationship. So that's what I would do. And when they get the taste and so on, then they would want to know more. Then you can give them a Bhagavad Gita class. But otherwise, you have to make them feel that here is a wonderful person who they can see is my well-wisher. Right? So you should convey that action and mood when you meet a person outside. So they must see that this person is genuine and he or she is trying to help me. They are not trying to cheat me. Mostly people cheat nowadays, right? Yeah. So that's what I would say.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's a wonderful answer. Any other questions, comments? Prabhu, one more thing, like I read somewhere in. Oh, question? Oh.
Yeah, Roshan is there.
Okay, Roshan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much for the really inspiring class. Personally, one thing that I liked was that I've tried to listen to Prabhupada tapes occasionally, but I haven't been hearing it regularly. So that was an eye opener, that actually to be able to imbibe his mood and spirit of Prabhupada, it's important that we at least listen sometime every day. So I'll try to listen to at least 15 minutes of Prabhupada lecture every day. Based on this.
That's very
Thank
nice,
you.
Roshan. Yeah, I'm very happy that you said that. I hope you can encourage others. And if they say they have no time, but they are spending time with you for 15-20 minutes talking something else, you can say, since you're here for 15-20 minutes, let's together listen. 15 minutes of Prabhupada. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Prabhuji, you had a question?
Yeah, interestingly, all Prabhupada lectures are max 30 minutes. All 20 minutes, 25 minutes, less than 30 minutes only. So it's a very, Prabhupada packs everything in that 20-25 minutes. It's amazing. Like, I feel like servicing a vehicle.
Well, it is the same, like if you read the Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma speaks to Narada Muni, and prior to that, what's that sound? So anyway, Lord Brahma, yeah, when Brahma is speaking to the Lord in the second canto, there's a Chatusloki. And then Brahma then explains that to Narada, and then Narada then explains it to Vyasadeva. So they only speak a few words, and then Vyasadeva then expands it into the Srimad Bhagavatam, actually. So in the same way, Srila Prabhupada can pack everything we need to know in his half an hour. There are many classes that are about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, but yeah, generally it's 30 minutes max. And we are all not like Prabhupada. So sometimes for us to explain, we may have to give more examples. As Kali Yuga progresses, our intelligence also decreases. So maybe we need to speak more to make the same points. Not out of arrogance, we think we can speak a lot more than Prabhupada, but sometimes it's necessary to make the points clear, because people are also very complicated nowadays. Yeah. And also we are not as pure as Prabhupada. So when we say something, maybe the impact is not as effective as when Prabhupada says. So we may have to say it a few times. There was a program, and my Guru Maharaj tells me that or told us, actually, he said once in a big program where professors, politicians were sitting, and Prabhupada called them, you're all, what did he say? He says, you're all dogs and fools. He told them directly in his lecture, all of you, if you don't do this, you're all dogs and fools. At the end of the lecture, they all stand up and clap. Then Prabhupada, after that, he stood up, he looked at the Krishna and said, you see, I call them fools and dogs, and they are clapping for me. So Prabhupada can do that. And if any of us were to call such personalities fools, they will sue us, So if we can speak eloquently in a few sentences, by all means, that's wonderful. But if we need to make a point clear, then that's okay. Having said that, we should also be readily aware that sometimes a person, that we may not have the Shakti to influence a person, so we should cut it short and give them a book, because they may argue with us, but they cannot argue with the book. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
So Prabhuji, when we offer obeisances to Srila Prabhupada through the mantra, right? Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, I see some devotees mention that when say Namaste, it comes as Namaste Saraswate Devi, right? but many devotees pronounce it as Namaste Saraswati Devi, right? And I've seen it many times, right? People do that. Is there a difference between pronouncing as Namaste Saraswati Deve versus Namaste Saraswati Devi? I believe Sanskrit is pretty, nuantic. I'm thinking like there must be some difference. So if you can help me, what is the right way to pronounce that? That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, look, definitely there's a difference. But I think the main thing is the spirit. What I'm trying to say is, do they all understand the translation of those pranam mantras? So if you know the translation of pranam mantras, even if you are chanting it incorrectly, but the spirit and the essence in your heart is always correct. So Srila Prabhupada would accept that. Whether you, for example, I go to China and they cannot even pronounce Rama, they'll say Lama. So does it mean Krishna doesn't accept it? Right? So Krishna is just like you and me, he's a person. So he understands these people cannot pronounce. And then he will accept their prayers. In time, he will allow them to maybe improve. Some of them will improve and chant properly. But in essence, he understands what is in the heart. That is the main thing. So sometimes don't, as far as possible, yes, practice to chant properly, pronounce properly, all mantras. But if you cannot due to some circumstance or one reason or another, that's okay. But if you can and you do not put the effort, then that's not okay. All right?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Great explanation.
Thank you, Prabhu, for wonderful class, and thank you for clarifying for all questions. We want to see you again and again for more classes to enlighten us.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you, Prabhu.
Prabhu, just one request I would like to place on behalf of the entire congregation. Prabhu, we'd like to have your personal association. So please bless us with that.
Yeah, when I'm hoping to tell you. I'll tell you when I'm free. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the
All right. Thank you very much, all of you, for patiently hearing me. I hope I haven't offended anyone, but we have to speak the truth sometime, and so we will speak as eloquently as I could. But if I wasn't as eloquent, I do ask for your apologies, and I pray that all of you continue making advancement in your Krishna consciousness. So thank you very much. I have to be also going. I'm kind of busy today. So
thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Devotees, please raise in your places. We'll be having Gaura Arti now. Arti. Yeah, sorry. Arti.
Announce that everyone please be on the car, no other places, because of this closed.
Please.
Yes,
Devotees, during the Aarti time, don't be in a kitchen or any other rooms, yoga room. Please present and attend Aarti. And also please move forward, so whoever can coming, so they can join at the back. Prabhu, 1 minute.
Okay, right here. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Thank you. Please pay your obeisances. जय नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील एसी भक्ति वेदांत की जय। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति वेदांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य श्रीला प्रभुपाद की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपी गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की नवद्वीप धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगामाई की यमुनामाई की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की संकीर्तन यज्ञ की बृहद मृदंगा की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shuguru and Gauranga. Now we will do Damodarastakam. First gents will offer, next Matajis can offer.
नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्द रूपं लसकुण्डलं गोकुले प्रजमनम्।
नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपम् लसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानम्।
नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं लसकुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानम्।
नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं लसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानम्।
यशोदादियो लोकनाथवमानं परामृष्टमत्यन्तो दोत्रितगोप्या।
यशोदादियो लोकनाथवमानं परामृष्टमत्यन्तो दोत्रितगोप्या।
यशोदादियो लोकनाथवमानं परामृष्टमत्यन्तो दोत्रितगोप्या।
यशोदादियो लोकनाथवमानं परामृष्टमत्यन्तो दोत्रितगोप्या।
रुदन्तं मुहुर्नेत्रं युग्ममर्जन्तं कराम्बोजयुग्मेन शान्तकनेत्रम्।
रुदन्तं मुहुर्नेत्रायुग्मं व्रजन्तं कराम्बोजयुग्मेन शान्तकनेत्रम्।
रुदन्तं मुहुर्नेत्रं युग्ममर्जन्तं कराम्बोजयुग्मेन शान्तकनेत्रम्।
रुदन्तं मुहुर्नेत्रायुग्मं व्रजन्तं कराम्बोजयुग्मेन शान्तकनेत्रम्। right hand.
Uhushvashakam patri vikartakanta Siddhagaiva damodaram bhaktivaktam Uhushvashakam patri vikartakanta Siddhagaiva damodaram bhaktivaktam
स्थिताग्रैवं दामोदरं भक्तिबद्धम्
इति द्विक्स्वलीलाभिरानन्दकुण्डे स्वघोषं निमर्जन्तं माकपयन्तम्
इति द्रक्ष्वलीलाभिरानन्दकुन्दे स्वघोषं निमज्जन्तमाख्यापयन्तम्
इति द्विक्स्वलीलाभिरानन्दकुण्डे स्वघोषं निमर्जन्तं माख्यापयन्तम्
इति द्रक्ष्वलीलाभिरानन्दकुन्दे स्वघोषं निमज्जन्तमाख्यापयन्तम्
तादीयेषु तज्ञेषु भक्ताजितत्वम् पुनः प्रेमतस्वं शतावृत्ति वन्दे
तादीये स्थिताग्नेषु भक्तजितत्वम् पुनः प्रेमतास्तां सतावृत्ति वन्दे
तादीयेषु तज्ञेषु भक्ताजितत्वम् पुनः प्रेमतस्वं शतावृत्ति वन्दे
तादीये स्थिताग्नेषु भक्तजितत्वम् पुनः प्रेमतास्तां सतावृत्ति वन्दे
वरं देवमोक्षं न मोक्षं वदिं वा न चान्यं वनेहं वरे सदपीह
वरं देवमोक्षं न मोक्षावधिं वा न चान्यं व्रणेऽहं वरेषदपीह
वरं देवमोक्षं न मोक्षवदिं वा न चान्यं वृणेऽहं वरे सदपीह
वरं देवमोक्षं न मोक्षावधिं वा न चान्यं व्रणेऽहं वरेषदपीह
इदं देव पूर्णता गोपालपालं सदा मे मनस्य विरासति मन्ये
इदं देव पूर्णता गोपालबालं सदा मे मनस्य वरिष्ठं किमनये
इदं देव पूर्णता गोपालपालं सदा मे मनस्य विरासति मन्ये
इदं देव पूर्णता गोपालबालं सदा मे मनुष्यावरिष्ठं किमनये
इदं ते मुकाम्बोजमत्यन्तनीलै वृतां कुण्टलै स्नेहरैकश गोप्या
इदं ते मुकाम्बोजमत्यन्तनीलव्रतं कुन्तलै स्निग्धारक्तैश्च गोप्या
उहुश्चुम्बितं बिम्बरक्तादरं मे मनस्या विरास्तामालं लक्षलभ्ये
मुहुश्चुम्बितं बिम्बरक्तादरं मे मनस्यावरिष्टं मालं लक्षलभे
उहुश्चुम्बितं बिम्बरक्ततरं मे मनस्या विरास्तामालं लक्षलभ्ये
मुहुश्चुम्बितं चुम्बितं बिम्बरक्तधरं मे मनस्यावरिष्टं मालं लक्षलाभै
नमो देव दामोदरानन्त विष्णु प्रसीद प्रभो दुःखजालब्धिमग्नम्
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 कृपा दृष्टिविष्टादिदीनं बतानु गृहान्वेषमामग्न मेधाक्षि दृश्या
कृपा दृष्टिवृष्ट्याति दीनं बतानु गृहाणि क्षमामग्नं नित्यक्षदृश्या
दृष्टिविष्टादिदीनं बतानु गृहान्वेषमामग्न मेधाक्षि दृश्या
कृपा दृष्टिवृष्ट्याति दीनं बतानु गृहाणि समामग्नं नित्यक्षदृश्या
कुबेरात्मजौपात्यमूर्तैव यद्वा त्वया मौचितौ भक्तिभाजकृतौ च
कुबेरात्मजौ बद्धमूर्तैव यद्वत् त्वया मोचितौ भक्तिभाजौ कृतौ च
कुबेरात्मजौपात्यमूर्तैव यद्वा त्वया मौचितौ भक्तिभाजकृतौ च
कुबेरात्मजौ बद्धमूर्तैव यद्वत् त्वया मोचितौ भक्तिभाजौ कृतौ च
तदा प्रेम भक्तिं स्वकामे प्रयच्छ न मोक्षे ग्रहो मे स्थितामुदरेह
तथा प्रेम भक्तिं स्वकामे प्रयश्च न मोक्षे ग्रहो मे स्थितामोदरेह
तदा प्रेम भक्तिं स्वकामे प्रयच्छ न मोक्षे ग्रहो मे स्थितामुदरेह
तथा प्रेम भक्तिं स्वकामे प्रयच्छ न मोक्षे ग्रहो मे स्थितामोदरेह
नमस्तेस्तु दाम्नेस्तु राधिप्रिदाम्ने त्वदीयोदराय विश्वसदाम्ने
नमस्तेस्तु दाम्ने स्फुरद्धिप्रिदाम्ने त्वदीयोदराय विश्वस्य दाम्ने
नमस्तेस्तु दाम्ने सुराधिप्रिदाम्ने त्वदीयोदराय विश्वसदाम्ने
नमस्तेस्तु दाम्ने स्फुरद्धिप्रिदाम्ने त्वदीयोदराय विश्वस्य दाम्ने
नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियायै नमो नन्तवीराय देवाय तुभ्यम्
नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियायै नमो नन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम्
नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियायै नमो नन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम्
नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियायै नमो नन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम्
नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपम् रसकुण्डलं गोकुले प्राजमनम्
नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपम्
नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं रसकुण्डलं प्राजमनम् यशोदापियो लोकलादपमानम् परामृष्टमत्यन्तो धृतगोप्या
यशोदाभियो लोकालादवमानम् परामृष्टमत्यन्तो द्वितीयगोप्या
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you all for attending Damodar Arati. We will have Narasimha Arati now.
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लाददायिने
हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः
हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः शीलटङ्कानकालये
इतो नशिमो परतो नशिमो
इतो नरसिंहो परतो नरसिंहो
यतो यतो यामि ततो नशिमो
यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहो
महे नशिमो हृदये नशिमो
बहे नरसिंहो हृदये नरसिंहो
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे
नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपद्ये
तव करकमलवरे नाकाम् अभूतशृङ्गां तलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवदिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
अवकर कमलवरे काम अद्भुत सिंगाम दलिता शिपो तनुभृङ्गाम केशवद्रीता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव
जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव
जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज
जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज
जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल
नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद नरसिम्हदेव भगवान की
जय
प्रहलाद महाराज की
जय
Thank you all for attending Mangala, sorry,